Hey brother. Yeah, brother. Hey brother. Hey brother. Hey brother. Hey sheepa brother.
GM, welcome back to the channel. In this one, I'm going to do a market update and just look at some of the highlights over this weekend. A few news stories broken and a few altcoins really breaking out. So going to have a little look at what's been going on here. So if you enjoy this content, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. We'll start here with the TOTAL3 chart. As you can see, it's at $603 billion, kind of in this downtrend, but it has started to put in a higher low, and it's potentially going to put in a higher high for the first time since March here. Looks very similar to the Bitcoin chart, doesn't it? But this is TOTAL3, so excludes Bitcoin, ETH, and the dollar stables. And it looks like it's on the precipice of a breakout here. And if you've got any of the stronger altcoins in your bag, you would have seen that they have started to break out. BitTenza being an obvious one amongst some others that we'll talk about in this video. We've got Bitcoin at 63,500 right now. Popped all the way up to pretty much the almost as high as the high we're looking to break. So this is the previous lower high that we want to break. This area it's around 65,000. If we can break above that, then we've got a bit of a trend reversal on our hands here. So it's kind of come into that resistance and was rejected over last night, but generally Bitcoin not looking too bad here. 63.5k. I mean, not going to complain on that front. And we've got quite a few altcoins in the watch list that are popping off like 5% here and there. A few big gainers as well. In terms of the dollar as well, DXY, it is very close to breaking that support level. So all eyes on that over the coming weeks here. That could be the major catalyst for the kind of altcoins, Bitcoins, etc., your cryptos, going on a bit of a moon mission once this finally does break down. So all eyes on this as an important chart. Bit of macro here. Alex Kruger, stop for a moment to consider how insane it is that for the last 2 years, so many people have been expecting that the Fed's first rate cut since 2020 would be extremely bearish, triggering a major downwards trends. This is a great example of why most traders and investors are better off ignoring the macro. Thought that was a pretty hilarious quote, as so many people caught off sides by the fact the Fed has now cut interest rates, and people were thinking cheaper money somehow means asset prices go down. So this was a bit of news to cover here. SEC approves options for Blackrock's spot Bitcoin ETF. So the iShares Bitcoin Trust from Blackrock now can have options atop of it. So what does this mean, and why is this bullish, or is this bullish? Because you're kind of seeing, as ever, when any news story breaks, you've got traders kind of on both sides of the spectrum. Some saying this is bearish and this will dampen volatility for Bitcoin, and others saying, look, this is tremendously bullish for Bitcoin and crypto more broadly for TradFi interest. So my takeaway from this is essentially, by having options listed, this should increase the interest from TradFi more broadly, due to the fact they will be able to apply their existing risk models to Bitcoin and be able to hedge out their positions properly. They're not going to come to the market and either be long or short. They need these more sophisticated tools as well. So this is a big move in my opinion. And as a result, I believe a lot more capital will flood into this market. So what I'm interested to see here is whether this news, which is in my opinion bullish, actually rolls into maybe some bullish price action for Bitcoin in the early part of this week, as this would have been digested by the TradFi bros over the weekend. So all eyes on the open today, and just to see generally how are the flows for Bitcoin today. Then if you want some more TradFi bullishness, just listen to the Eck CEO here talking about a price prediction for BTC. He doesn't state the actual end date for this one, I don't believe, but 350k is the number. Just listen to this first clip.
So about a year ago, I started pounding the table because eventually the Fed is going to start easing here. That's great for gold and that's for Bitcoin. What I said is Bitcoin is growing up and will be eventually half the total market cap of gold. So that's about 350,000. So quite a ways to go from here. The super bulls, if central banks adopt it and it's part of the monetary system, then in the millions, but I don't like to talk about that.
So he does go on to mention 2.9 billion is the mega bull case for Bitcoin if central banks start to accumulate. Here is the gold chart, which continues with a massive trudge upwards. And so we're expecting Bitcoin to follow this. And, you know, when you hear people being a little bit bearish on options coming to the Blackrock ETF, when you realize we're at 63,000 and the CEO of Eck is just quoted as saying half the market cap of gold, 350K. I mean, it is a little bit hard to be bearish on this asset class more broadly. So I think we're in for quite an interesting few months ahead. Over to Farside for some flows here. These are the ETF flows. As you can see, last week, 16th through to the 20th, inflow 180, minus 52, plus 150 there. And finishing off the week with a 92. So somewhere in the vicinity of $400 million of inflows into the Bitcoin ETF last week. Plus we had Sailor buy around $500 million. So that's pretty much $1 billion that was hoovered up in the last 7 days. Stablecoins in crypto continue with their trudge on upwards. This is a metric I like to follow. I think we're at 119 billion USDT in the market with a dominance of almost 70% there. And this is pushing towards all-time high territory. It's not quite there. All-time high around 186. We're at 172. On to one of the best performers in the market right now. It is, of course, BitTenza TAO. It had a very powerful conference over at Token 2049. As referenced by this chart, this is kind of just before Token, the start of Token, and then the end point. It's gone from like 280s to 550, which is pretty phenomenal run over a 1 week period, and shows you how quickly altcoins can reprice in the markets when sentiment shifts and when we get a bit more risk on, as we have been since the 50 basis points cut. TAO Talk episode 4 here. If you haven't checked this one out, I listened to this one, and this is the major ball point here, big updates, and this is a image on screen. You can see the guy presenting for BitTenza at Token 2049. I think the date is September 19th there, saying EVM functionality is coming to TAO, so you can host smart contracts atop of BitTenza going forward. So imagine wrapped ERC20 assets coming to the BitTenza network, stablecoins coming on. You have a Turing complete language on BitTenza at that point. How long will this take? I'm not sure, but that is in the pipeline and maybe a reason for the repricing as of late. With that EVM compatibility, it'll be a lot easier to hold TAO. It will also mean that the subnets can then have smart contracts and smart contract powered dApps being built on them. This is just going to increase the overall design space for the subnets, and you can start to see TAO become a layer 1 or maybe a layer 0 infrastructure layer with smart contracts on top of it. So you can just see that the repricing makes a bit of sense when you learn about some of the upcoming items on the roadmap here. So maybe we'll be able to track amounts of funds being bridged in, bridged out, TVL, all that cool stuff for TAO, which kind of changes the game. Cato was on this one quite early, September 12th. Price down, but TAO has consistent higher mindshare than ever compared to other AI tokens. That was September 12th. So mindshare really ticked up for TAO, and then price followed later. So that was an interesting thing to monitor here, that the sentiment did lead price. Quick one, we have Tarot here up bigly over the last 7 days. Again, I wouldn't FOMO into any of these charts. I'll be looking for pullbacks if you are not aboard. I'm not trying to FOMO people into stuff, but just showing you like what is possible in a week for crypto when the tides change. Tarot and their CEO, Tigris, have been posting around Sonic coming soon. So kind of just ramping up into the Phantom Sonic season. Quil, again, another one. Obviously, you don't go and buy this chart. It's up 36% in the last 24 hours. But again, it was in accumulation mode. 19-20 cents is pushing 36 today. Probably a good area to trim like 10% off or something and look to reaccumulate lower. And a lot of people who are in Quil are also early to, or were early to TAO. So there's a lot of similarities being drawn up, probably a lot of the same bag holders. And people are saying, look, TAO had its moon mission. Maybe it's time for Quil, and maybe you'll get a rotation of people with TAO profits into Quil profits here. Maybe that is what has taken place here for this big move. But very interesting to see the kind of AI baskets really, really moving here. So we'll leave things off here. We're waiting for Bitcoin to print a higher high, hopefully break this red line. Over 65K in the early part of this week would be very bullish in my mind. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you next one. Peace.